Hey, welcome to the Have You Seen It podcast. I'm Jared. This is Adam.
Hello, how's it going?
And Dan.
Hello.
And you may have noticed we have a new guest with us today. Welcome, Jess.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Have You Seen It podcast.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Jess is my wife, and just so happens to be a much better movie critic than myself. So
We shall find out.
Yeah. We will see.
And Jess, do you have, because we shouted out our favorite movies when we did the first podcast, do you have a favorite movie that you want to shout out?
I do. My favorite movie is probably, there's like different favorite movies I have for different genres, but I think my all-time favorite is probably The Departed.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Yeah.
That is good.
I feel like when I say that, usually people are pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Like when I've said that to people
I wasn't
before.
expecting that, yeah.
I wasn't expecting it, yeah.
It's funny, although they didn't know, because you were talking about swearing and, you know, that's like the most F words in any movie, or at least it was when it came out.
I mean, pretty much any Scorsese movie is probably up there, but
that
is
was the
the
top
one
for a while.
Wow.
I don't know if it is
That one's pretty
anymore.
well. Tracks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before we kind of dive into our podcast here, we're going to do some trivia, right?
Yeah, and just so we know, we're reviewing the movie Twisters. Did you say that already?
No.
Oh, okay. But yeah, do you want to do yours, or you want somebody else to do it?
Yeah, I can go ahead and do our first trivia question here. So, first question I have for you guys is the character of Tyler Owens is based off of a real person
I didn't know
in the film. What is the name of their YouTube channel?
Oh, funny. Had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
the one in the
you're
movie-
giving us options, right?
No.
It's
I was
either
curious
you know
who
it or
knows
you
it.
don't know
Multiple
it.
choice.
Yeah, I thought you
know
said
it or
you were
don't.
setting up on your pop culture.
Interesting. I did
Yeah.
not know
So
that.
see if you guys can guess it.
Okay, so in the movie, what is this thing? It's like rodeo something.
Or like, yeah, what is it?
Steve
Storm
or
Cowboy or something
Tyler?
like that? I don't know. His
Some-
name's
Cowboy.
Tyler, but
Tornado
Guys,
cowboy.
these are
Yeah.
fundamental facts we should have had prepared.
Okay, I'm gonna guess that the YouTube channel.
No,
is
you keep it to yourself, and then at the very end we reveal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then that way the audience stays in suspense.
Oh, okay.
and they stick around. Okay, cool. That's the first trivia question. I can go into just the summary of the movie. So Twisters, obviously, I mean, I guess, what are you guys calling this? I guess I would call this a reboot of Twister.
Yeah, this is definitely
Yeah.
not a sequel.
It's not a sequel.
Yeah, in my mind, that's what I was thinking.
So
too.
reboot. Okay, so the director is Lee Isaac Chung, who I've never heard of, starring Daisy Edgar Jones as Kate and Glenn Powell as Tyler.
I think this is the director's first like blockbuster film.
Oh, really?
It came out of the indie world, from what I remember hearing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Production budget was $155 million, which, comparing to our last review, A Quiet Place, that was $67 million. So quite a bit more. I think it's pretty close to Furiosa. I think Furiosa was like 160 something. So that's a pretty high budget, honestly.
Is it for like VFX? I was thinking the opposite. I was like,
Probably.
you know what? This is probably gonna be super like low budget because like, what do they have? Cornfields and
Yeah.
a bunch of trucks.
Yeah,
Right.
it must be the VFX.
Yeah, it's definitely visual effects probably played
Yeah.
a big role in that.
60 days of production. A Quiet Place was 64, so right on par with that. And then earnings, $284 million. That's way higher than anything we've reviewed so far. So A Quiet Place was $180 million. So that's quite a bit.
Wow.
Pretty wild. Quick synopsis for it. Haunted by a devastating encounter with a tornado, Kate Cooper gets lured back to the open plains by her friend Javi to test a groundbreaking new tracking system. As storm seasons intensify, they find themselves in a fight for their lives as multiple systems converge over central Oklahoma. There you go.
Also, what is it? TDLR? Too long didn't read. It's literally,
TLDR.
TLDR. It's literally the Twister plot, but
Plot.
just slightly different.
Yeah, which is why.
It's not. I would argue.
Yeah, well,
Well, we can get
we can
more
get
into
into,
that.
we can get into that for sure. So we're gonna do general thoughts now. Jess, you want to start us off with that?
Oh my gosh, I would love to.
Yeah,
do
what do you
I do a
think?
trivia question too?
Yeah, but we'll do that a little bit later. So
Okay,
hold
got
on to
it,
that
got it. Okay,
if
got
you
it.
got one.
I would say like my general first, like my thoughts were I liked it. I thought that this was better than the original. I think that this, and from beginning to end, but especially in the beginning, I feel like that's where they got me. They gave you everything that the first movie left you wanting for. Like, it was so much more realistic, and that, like, yeah, it, like, what would happen if you got caught in the middle of a storm and you had to, like, hoof it, and, like, not everybody survives, right? Like, that's more realistic. And, like, I feel like in the first movie, nothing would hit the trucks. Like, it was always like, woo,
the
here's
characters
the
are like indestructible, right?
Yeah. And then this one, like, this, like, the first thing that happens is you see stuff hitting the windshield and, like, cracking. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it felt so much more real and so much more serious about the damage and destruction of tornadoes instead of this sexy, like, woo, storm chasers, we're the cool guys. And also, I feel like some of the things that, you know, you wonder, like, well, what if it wasn't just like some ragtag, like, Rat Pack people that were just like passionate about chasing storms? It was like, what would happen if it was actually like the most qualified people doing this research, and, like, you know what I mean? I feel like it scratched that itch that I was really looking for in the first movie. I think this is the better version for a lot of reasons, but especially that Daisy Edgar Jones's character gets to, like, be the hero on her own in a way that the first movie just, it was not like that at all.
There's still the love interest in this one, though.
It is, but it's not as cheesy. You know what I mean? I know Dan disagrees with me on that.
No,
It's
it's
super cheesy.
It's still you're right. It's not as cheesy, but it's still cheesy.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll
We
save
can
that for
dive into
later,
that
but
later.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Those
But
are my,
overall,
like,
you enjoyed
general.
it. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
liked it. And you
I
liked
did
it better
like it.
than
And maybe it's because I came in with low expectations. Like, I was fully coming in like, okay, this is gonna be super cheesy. Like, because I feel like the previews were very much like insinuating that there was gonna be this really big love story arc to it, which I like that it wasn't. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like that.
Who wants to go next?
I can. We'll just keep going down
Go
the
around.
line.
I like it.
I think I went in with with poor expectations. Like, I went in thinking this was going to be a new take on Twisters. I didn't realize it was gonna just be kind of like copy paste the same formula, the same plot, with some minor tweaks here and there. And because of that, I just felt a little bit let down. It was still like an entertaining movie, and I do think that's parts of this movie I enjoyed more than the original. But personally, I thought the crew from the original film, I just thought they were a lot more fun, and it just, there was a different kind of like camaraderie in that original film that just like made it really fun to be a part of this group. And, they had that dinner scene over at, I forget.
Aunt.
At the
Aunt
aunt's
Meg,
house.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Aunt Meg, yeah. And that was like, I don't know, that was really fun. And we didn't really have that in this one. But yeah, I mean, it was still a fun action film and enjoyable time. And it was really cool to see in the theaters. But I think because I went in with those expectations, I just felt dissatisfied. I just thought that it was a little, they could have done more to be different, rather than it just being copy paste.
Yeah, I had a very similar reaction to you watching it. Twister was like one of the first PG-13 movies my parents let me see as a kid, so like it left a huge like impression on me as a kid. It's one of my favorite movies, even though like not a very good movie. Watching it back, like it's cheesy and
It's so cheesy.
It's so cheesy, and like if you've seen CinemaSins before, they like count out like everything wrong with the movie, and Twister has like one of the highest CinemaSin counts. It's really funny.
Really?
Yeah. As far as like what's like just everything wrong with it, but I love that movie, and so like going in like seeing the trailer, my initial thoughts were like, really, like we're going back like. We're doing this again. Like we're going
You're
back
like,
to
leave it
Twisters. Like how many years has it been? So like going in, I had like really low expectations, and it was better than I expected. But again, like I think similar to kind of what Dan was talking about, I just didn't connect with the characters as much as the first one. Like I really like the leads in the new film, but as far as like the old movie, like you were saying, like you really get to know the whole group, and there's like a sense of camaraderie, and you just don't get that with this new one. I felt like I didn't know a lot of the like extra characters. Or
Like
side
they
characters.
try and do some of it, but it just doesn't come as strong as the very first movie.
Yeah. So overall, like I'd say like mixed to I didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping, but it was better than I thought it was.
It's a little more serious than the first one. The first
Yeah.
one's all about like, ooh, look at how sexy storm chasing
Yeah.
is. Like, it's all the camaraderie and the thrill. And this was a little bit more serious, right? Like, right away, people die. Can we do? We're sorry.
You know what?
We'll edit that out.
Happens in the first 10 minutes.
We won't say who.
Yeah,
Yeah.
won't
We'll
say
leave
who,
it at
but, like,
that.
there's like a heaviness to it, right? Like, I also feel like one of the things that this movie had that the first one didn't is like the anatomy of a storm, like they like how it forms and like the conditions. Like they kind of got a little bit into like the science and math. Not that I followed any of it,
Right.
But like it was kind of cool that it was a little bit more serious in the fact that like it really does have destructive consequences. You know what I mean? I don't think it was meant to be like a super feel good.
Yeah. No, I get you. And really my biggest thing was just I didn't connect with the characters as much as the first one. And that's partly probably because of nostalgia and just partly like, I don't know. I felt like the original, you just got to know everybody a little bit more than this one.
What are your thoughts, Adam?
Similar to both of yours. Sorry.
You guys don't like it. Come on.
This is why I invited Jess, because I
know,
knew
we
she would
need-
stir the pot.
Yeah. No, it's great. No, yeah, it's similar to you. Although I don't think I had a strong enough connection. Sorry, I don't think I had as strong of a connection with Twister
Yeah.
as you.
Yeah.
But I remember liking it, and I think I've rewatched it as an adult, and I enjoy it. I did rewatch it immediately after I got
I know,
home
you said that
after,
this morning.
watching Twisters
Yeah.
just to compare it. And yes, that one's cheesy, and the romance stuff is pretty cheesy in that, and I don't love that. But I really like that one, and I didn't have any expectations for this one at all. I agree. I think it was better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But it just didn't quite get there for me. I really like the first like 15 minutes. So the first scene is kind of what you were talking about too. And I really like the last scene, honestly. So like the beginning and the end worked for me, but the middle, it just for me, it got there was too many tornadoes and they were too crazy, and it was just like to me it felt very unrealistic because it was like every single day there was a tornado. But the first one's kind of like that too.
The first one's exactly
Yeah.
like that.
But
It's
it's-
like, there's a once-in-a-lifetime superstorm.
Yeah, and
But-
to give them
Yeah,
credit,
but
they did
I
that in this
believe
one
that
too, where they're
more.
like, yeah, I mean, it's once in a lifetime event, right?
Yeah,
they
but
kind of have
I feel
that
like I
piece.
believe that more because it was like in the first one it's like 2 days. So I'm like, okay, they're just a crazy storm. This one was like multiple days, and every single day had one tornado. And then people were playing baseball. There was a farmer's market.
Yeah,
There
right.
I was like, there was a rodeo. I'm like, if this is that crazy, why are there people outside? Anyway,
I felt like the first one was they were edging you. I felt like that was like because it was so like, oh, this is the one. Oh, just kidding. Oh, we're gonna get this one.
Well,
it was so like,
yeah.
stop edging me. Just get into it.
Well, I like that because I really like it takes 30 minutes of the first movie to see the first tornado. So just that build up, it just builds it up a little bit more.
It feels like those like classic movies from the 70s
Yeah.
and 80s where you don't see the monster right away, and
That's
they
exactly right.
they don't reveal it, and they just kind of reveal little details slowly, and it makes it so much more suspenseful. And like, I just really want to know what this tornado is gonna look like.
Yeah.
The original, I was gonna say, the original Twister feels like a horror movie where they kind of build that up, and this one feels more like I don't know if an action movie is the right way to say it, but it's just more like constant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so in general, there were things I liked about this one better than I thought, but in the end, I didn't come out really liking it that much. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Man, tough critic.
I mean, clearly there are a lot of people that like this movie. Just looking
It
at
has
the scores,
really high audience. Like, what was the audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes? It was like 94% or 91%.
it was the
I think it's
audience
gone
was
down, yeah.
91,
Yeah.
and the
The
critics
critical
was
was a little
75.
lower,
But
yeah.
still, 75 is pretty good. So
Yeah.
so obviously there's a audience out for, and you
Yeah.
know they're making a lot of money off it. I just don't know if it's me or us, but
I will say they're like watching it. It's one of the few movies I've seen since COVID, probably in a theater where there was like legit audience reaction during the movie.
oh
yeah?
really?
Like
okay.
my theater like reacted really
Quite a bit.
positively to a lot of things during the movie, so that was interesting to see.
Really?
Yeah.
And you just went the other day,
I just went the other day. Yeah.
and people were still like giving
Yeah,
verbal
people-
Everybody wants
responses.
people
to
were
see
like-
that scene of Glenn Powell
Yeah,
wearing a white
that's
t-shirt
probably it.
when it's raining.
probably it.
When that scene happened, I'm like, all right,
Oh, Dan
this was so unnecessary, but he has to give what the people want.
Dan
so.
was huffing and puffing, like he was like, oh, and I was like, are you okay? And he was like, what is this? This is so unnecessary. And I was like, Dan, they have to give the people what they want. But also, like, welcome to the world of, like, being a woman.
Yeah, I was going to say,
where,
that's
like,
not...
every piece of media on TV is, like, it has nothing to do with the character arc or the plot. And it's like, we're going to do a nude scene here. Yeah.
She's like,
She's
all
going
right.
to go in the shower and be super, like,
Has
conflicted.
nothing to do with the
which
story.
which they kind of did in the first one. There's like she takes a shower and I'm like, why? I mean,
yeah.
we don't see anything. But
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Why did we need
Why
that?
are we in the
Yeah.
shower with her? I don't
Yeah.
know. That's kind of weird.
So we
so
just get
what
the
did-
reverse in this new.
Yeah, exactly. So what did you think of that character, Tyler? Because I'm curious. And Glenn Powell. Do you like him as an actor?
I
or-
did. I like that they kind of set it up so that you expect to hate him, like in the first one.
Yeah.
Which, two things. I feel like, one, I like that he's not who he turns out, who you think he's gonna be, right? He turns out to be like actually a good guy, especially when he, gives up the spotlight. I won't do spoilers, but like he gives up the spotlight at a certain point in the movie where you're like, yeah, as he should. And I liked that they didn't have him do the cliche thing where it's like, in the end scene, like she gets to be her own hero organically in a way that wasn't in the first movie. In the first movie, it was so much like these two girls fighting over this guy, and then he saves the day with the tornado too. Like ultimate, like, oh, he's the man. Like I like, what's actually hard is being soft. Like Dan and I were talking about like this like macho stuff, and I was like, what's actually like really manly and like really hard and really rock and roll is like being soft. And I think like when you give up control and you let somebody else shine, and I feel like that was really manly. Like they really, like, that was a real man, you know what I mean? This is a
That
21st
was Jessica's
century
white
man.
t-shirt moment. She's like, oh yeah.
I mean, he was a 21st century man, and I really liked it because I feel like I like the moral dilemma that you don't anticipate having, right? Like you want to say like, oh my gosh, this guy's so conceited, but it's like you find out that he's actually, that's not the whole story. And then you actually end up kind of switching teams where it's like, oh yeah, there's a moral dilemma here of like doing good or like making a profit.
I really enjoyed that about this version is that there was more complexity and there was more to Tyler and Glenn's character than what meets the eye, and there is like exactly what you just said. I really, really enjoyed that, and I thought Glenn Powell did like a really good job. He was,
Such a good job.
he was the star of the show. I thought he did. He was.
Well, see,
No,
that's
he
the
wasn't.
problem.
No,
See,
he
that's the problem, and that's the problem we had with Furiosa, with what's his face?
Yeah.
What is his name in that? What's the character?
I can't
Chris
remember.
Hemsworth.
Well, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris
Chris Hemsworth stealing the show in a movie called Furiosa. So I think that's an issue. And well, here's my thoughts on that character. I kind of hated that character.
Well, you hate him at first,
But not in that way. I'm okay with an asshole who turns into a good guy. That's fine. But I thought they played that way too cheesy at the beginning. He was like way over the top. That I'm like, this is not a real person.
But it's relatable because I feel like people know people like that.
I mean,
You know what
he's
I mean?
Not quite
but
like
he's a
that.
YouTube celebrity. Like it makes sense for his
Yeah.
character.
That's true.
And
for
Adam,
me, it was
he was
too much.
he was based on a real YouTuber.
Okay, well, that's
See, I had
convincing.
the same thought as you.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I was like
Well,
researching him more, and I found the dude's YouTube channel, and
But-
he's literally that person.
But he could actually just be an asshole though, because we don't see his real life character turn. So anyway, I thought it was too cheesy, and I was rolling my eyes the whole first 15 minutes that he was in.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I was rolling my eyes at him too, and really just like even what's the main actress's name?
Oh, Kate, the character or the actress?
Well, I mean, whatever.
Daisy Edgar Jones.
Daisy Edgar Jones. Like both of them, it just there were so many cheesy like moments or elements to it of.
The writing was just a little cheesy in general.
It was,
right?
for me.
I think it was less predictable than the cheese that you expect. Like in the scene where he's like, "Where are we going, little lady?" Basically, I like that she didn't actually tell him where they were going. You know what
But
I
the
mean?
romance
like
was
that,
just
yeah.
kind of cheesy and
They had
like,
chemistry. You can't blame them for having chemistry. And I will also say too, like my friend Casey made a really good point where she was like, just like yes, Glenn Powell is for like the female gaze of like, oh, he's so over the top and super macho and all this, like he was kind of a jerk. So is Daisy Edgar Jones for the male gaze, where she, she's like
No,
smart.
I would
but
not put her on
quiet,
the
but
same
tough,
level as
but
Glenn
independent. Not as much, but I feel like there's still like that's also still part of the like the storyline and like the romance that happens.
What other
between the
movies
two.
has she been in?
I don't
she's
know.
been in quite a few.
I feel like I
Has she?
recognize her, but I don't know what she's been in.
She was in the Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, okay.
Did she have like a lead role? Was she like?
She was the lead
actress?
character.
I
Did
don't
you
think
watch
I,
that one?
I don't think I did.
I did
Have you
watch
seen
it,
it?
and I did not like it.
Oh, okay.
I thought that
Did you
was
read the
fun.
book?
When I was like in middle school.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I liked her character. I like Kate a lot, actually. And obviously, yeah, she has a more complex storyline and background than anything in the first movie, I will admit.
Yeah.
But honestly, I felt like we could have had more of that. Like, well, to not spoil things, what happens is pretty darn traumatic, and I feel like she doesn't even like, they touch on it, but I felt like we could have got deeper into that. Yeah, it's hard to talk about
without
spoiling,
spoiling things.
Well, we already said somebody dies, but
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that big of a spoiler.
it really isn't because it happens in the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, but I wasn't expecting it, and
Yeah. That's
when I
true.
watched it, I was like, "Okay, we're
Yeah.
going that route,"
Yeah.
and I was excited.
I really
will
liked
admit
it.
that.
And I
Because
think casting wise, like I didn't recognize anyone, but maybe like they're just probably in movies I haven't seen. But apparently, casting wise, like they casted like some pretty recognizable faces for like some of the characters in the first scene that don't make it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't recognize any of
the
those people.
oh, I always forget her name. The lady that was like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like the
Yeah.
show.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
where it's
forget her
like
name.
just to make it a little bit more unexpected.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought that Twisters did a better job of making you feel like you could lose the characters and that these storms
True.
were deadly.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first one,
Oh.
you know, the very opening scene of Twister, like we see the F5 tornado, but that's the only moment I think we ever see anybody like
Die.
we lose someone,
Yeah.
but it wasn't even a very like
Right.
convincing, like we knew it was going to happen. It was
Yeah.
so obvious. Whereas in this one,
Yeah.
it was like I thought those characters were going to be with us the entire time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's fair, and I think that's also just like when this, it's being made today. Like movies back then didn't really have as crazy of like twists at the beginning or something like that.
Yeah.
But I will say, I agree with what you're saying, but on contrary to that, when I rewatched Twister, I felt like I was a lot more afraid. Not really, but like it felt scarier what was happening in Twisters. I felt like it was more of a kind of just a fun, like they got country music playing when
Yeah.
they're riding through the tornado. It doesn't seem like
Yeah.
that scary. So like,
No,
I feel
I'm
like
with
they
you. Like,
play up
again,
the
like,
horror.
That
part of
movie
it.
scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
It's like it
Yeah.
does have just a little, just a different vibe.
I had more of a visceral reaction to the first one than this one, where, well, I will say again, the first scene and the last scene I did have reactions to in this one, but the middle tornadoes were just like, and when he's like shooting off fireworks into the tornado, it's
Yeah,
just
that
like,
was
Yep.
cool.
it just kind of like takes all the
It was a
scariness out of it.
A little corny.
A little bit.
We can see who the movie is hitting and
Yeah.
not hitting.
Yeah.
What
it was
was his
definitely-
saying when he was
I don't know.
he did his little finger twirl?
Yeah.
I gotta look that up.
Anyway, what else? What else you guys?
Well,
wanna
let's
talk
do a
about?
quick trivia,
Oh yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
just to break it up a little.
Jess,
I
you got
like
one?
it.
My trivia.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go for your question.
Oh, I forgot what my trivia was.
It was
now.
about Glenn Powell.
It was about Glenn Powell.
Is it
Come
still
back
on
to
your
me. Come
Safari?
back to
Alright.
me. No, because I thought of a new one when Jared was talking. Just come back to me.
Okay.
All right. So I got
You
I
got
got one
another
more
one?
for you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
So this one I do have multiple choice. Which Twisters actor experienced a real tornado? So you got A. Daisy Edgar Jones, B. Anthony Ramos, C. Sasha Lane, or D. Glenn Powell.
I'm pretty sure it's both Glenn. Like,
Don't,
we
we
have
keep
to-
this to ourselves.
oh,
So write it down on your phone.
Or just remember. if
Or
you
just
wanna
remember.
oh, okay.
We'll save them to the end.
Yep.
Yeah. Say it one more time. Just
So which Twisters actor experienced a real tornado? A. Daisy Edgar Jones, B. Anthony Ramos, C. Sasha Lane, or D. Glenn Powell.
and we'll have to in post add like a little do do do.
Yeah,
do,
there you
do,
go.
little music interlude.
Okay, cool. What else do you guys want to talk about? I can throw stuff out too.
Yeah, so I guess music
I
choices,
was
since
just
you were
gonna
talking
talk
about
about
that
the
a little
music
bit
choices.
before. How'd you
Yeah.
guys feel about the music choices in this film overall?
Don't even remember the music.
I agree. I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think Twister has such a good soundtrack. I haven't seen it recently, but I can still remember like the soundtrack.
Well, it's
in my
very
mind.
ominous.
Yeah.
Because it's got classic rock and ominous like orchestra.
Yeah, you got Van Halen in there. And,
there's a bunch of good classic rock songs.
Yeah, but and just such a good score. And this film just didn't like even. I don't think they even really like had a nod to the original score necessarily.
No, not at all. And it was so sporadic. It was totally. We got pop music, we got folk music, we got country music. Then there was some orchestra symphony stuff that was like kind of cheesy.
Yeah, it just
It was
seemed kind
all
of
over the
random.
map,
Yeah, it seemed really random. And like some of their montage choices where they had like songs playing during montage sequences were so on the nose to like what was happening in the movie.
there was literally one that was like something in Oklahoma.
It's like okay.
It was a little much.
Or they played "Boys Are Easy" after the scene where she like tells Glenn Powell to go east. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Boys are easy.
Boys are easy. I don't know. It just seemed really on the nose and like I don't know. It was a much different vibe than the original movie.
Now I want to go back and I wasn't even paying attention.
It bothered me the whole movie.
To be honest, the audio in our theater was annoying me the entire time because
Oh yeah,
it wasn't.
He made a comment.
It
He's
wasn't
that guy
loud
that
enough.
wanted-
I actually went up to the front and I said, "Hey, I think your volume is too low because like
Really?
the big scenes felt like you had the volume turned down
Oh,
because you were
no.
like conscious
Listen, Dan
of."
is somebody that loves to have like his
Loud.
ear drums banging out of his ears.
I
at the
go to
movie
the theater to be
To
blown
experience-
out
yeah.
of my seat.
When did you guys see it? In the day?
when we were.
No, it was evening time
Okay.
when we were in Cape Cod.
Yeah.
In the evening. Okay, because I think earlier they turn it down because I know it's all retired people and kids watching.
No, this was like a 6:30.
okay, then.
Yeah, it wasn't too late. But even I thought it was pretty.
And the
quiet.
theater next to us, I just heard the bass the entire
bumping,
time.
yeah.
And they actually made a comment too to someone at the front, which is why I decided to make a comment. And I'm like, clearly turn that theater up because that's the only thing I'm hearing. Anyway,
They did turn
And
it
it's
up
like,
a little bit.
It's like high school kids who don't.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that.
yeah, they were like, I guess we'll look into it. I don't know. And they did turn it up a little bit.
Oh, did they? Okay.
just a little.
That's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Like you're going to the theater, you want to experience the sound.
I go
That's
for
one of my biggest
Dolby
pet
Atmos.
peeves is like
I
when the
do not-
sound is just not good.
You know what, Jared? One of my pet peeves is going to the movies and feeling like I'm gonna come out a little more, like hearing a little less.
I actually bought Jessica like high fidelity earplugs.
Uh-huh.
So because we went to Dune Part 2, and I was
Oh,
like,
and it was
we're going
too
to
loud.
IMAX,
Yeah, he
and
was
this
like-
is going to be loud.
He was like, Jess, just trust me. I got you these. You're not going to want to go without it. I just think it's so unnecessary. I'm like, I get the movie experience. And also, why is my hair like flying whenever there's like a big bass scene?
That's awesome.
That is.
I thought the audio, well, in my theater was good, and I thought the audio sound effects were really good because we were talking like the pool scene. There, it almost sounded like there was rocks in the theater, like bouncing around the wall. And I was like, oh wow. So I felt like it was pretty good in this.
Yeah,
I imagine they.
You'll have to see it in a better
I
theater.
know. I was telling Jess I was actually going to try and rewatch it this week, but I ran out of time
Yeah.
because I just wanted to. It's one of those movies that you want to see in the theater because it's got such audio and the sound effects and sound design is such a major component to
maybe
the story.
that's why it's getting a lot of money. People are just like, oh, I just want to see something fun in the theaters.
I think
there hasn't been that many this year.
I think that's a
really.
big part of it. And
Yeah.
this movie, again, like it had a lot of audience reaction in my theater, and I think it's just it is kind of a throwback to like just classic blockbuster summer movie,
Yeah.
and people have just been wanting that. I feel like, and it's obviously doing really really well because of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would also say it's doing really well because I feel like the character of Kate was relatable as heck.
I
Like,
agree with that.
I agree,
I was
yeah.
telling Dan, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but towards the end where like you kind of see that look on her face where she says throughout the movie, like, I wish there was more I could do, or I wish that we could help more. And then she just hits a point where she's like, I'm done wishing and hoping that I could do more. And like, I feel like there's that face that every woman can relate to where it's like, you know what? I'm just going to do this myself. Like, I'm just going to take care of this. That was rock and roll. And like, even when she's like, there's like the symmetry between the story that her mom tells of like, oh, you know, when she was little, she'd run out of the bath and like just go stare straight into a big storm. And like, that was, I don't know if you guys picked up on that symmetry. Like, that's the person that you see when she runs out, right? And then she's like, I have nothing to lose. I thought that was relatable as heck. That was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought her character was probably the best part of the movie, and I also thought the acting was like pretty realistic. Like the first scene with everybody, like the whole group.
Yeah.
I was like, it felt realistic because they're kind of like stumbling over their words a little bit, and I kind of like that when you can pull that off and it doesn't sound so like written out. I thought they did good acting wise.
Yeah, I thought so too. I
Yeah.
thought everybody like acted really well. Again, like going back to the original movie, like I felt like I liked the characters better in the original, but they're really cheesy.
Yeah.
So
They're so
cheesy.
goofy.
Yeah.
Especially like the fiance.
Yeah.
I really
Right,
hated
yeah.
that
Yeah.
character. Just how they did
It's
her
a different time for
dirty.
filmmaking.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It
I
was.
don't know if it feels like that was a very 90s thing to have
Yeah.
that like the fiance that comes in and into the group and
The
that
other
ends
woman.
up being like
Yeah.
pushed out and the the original wife and husband
Doesn't get
reconnect.
him. She didn't get him.
Because they had that Parent Trap and they
That's exactly what I was thinking. Parent
Yeah,
Trap. That's so funny.
when I was watching that I was like, this is
Although-
like Parent Trap.
Although Parent Trap is a remake of a really old movie.
Oh,
so-
is there? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Huh.
We should watch that original. That'd be fun.
So, did you guys think initially when the movie started and we saw Dorothy, like the storm system thing? Did you think like, oh, like are we is this the main character from the first movie's like daughter?
That's what I had that thought, and then pretty quickly I was like, okay, clearly not.
Mhm.
But yeah, for sure. Like, because there was some Easter eggs
Did
in
they
here.
did
to
they ever
tie it in.
explain the connection? No.
No, you just had to
No.
know.
You just have to know. Okay.
Well, I think it was
Yeah.
probably it
Just
was-
kind of a
Well,
throwback to the.
it was like
original.
I
those-
think it was more for the audience than for the
Yeah.
characters. I think
Yeah.
it was,
The entire movie, though, I was like, okay, when's the connection gonna happen?
Oh,
Or
really?
when are we gonna like find out like the
'Cause
movies are connected?
You were waiting
in
for
some
Helen
way.
Hunt to walk in.
Yeah, and she's
That's why
talking
you were
about her mom.
disappointed.
She keeps talking
Yeah.
about her mom, and we don't
Yeah.
see her for
Right,
a while.
and I
Yeah.
thought her mom was gonna
Might
be Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And you're right. I think that is partly why I was disappointed because I was just waiting for the connection to happen,
Yeah.
and then I'm at the very end. I'm like, okay, so this
There
was
really wasn't.
literally
Yeah.
just a reboot, copy paste remake. So
Yeah.
The better version.
Debatable.
It might be a hot take. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're the hot take.
Yeah, I mean,
on it.
like all the comments I've been reading, everyone seems to like it.
Really? Yeah.
like it a lot.
The one thing I didn't like about her character was she was very easy to persuade because, like, when Javi comes and he's like, "Oh, like I want you to come back and do it again."
Oh, yeah, the call to
he
action
just
moment.
sends her a news article about a twister, and she's like, "Okay, I'll do it."
I'm
Yeah.
in.
And then there was
I'm with
something.
ya.
There was when Tyler comes to her house and they're in the barn, and
Oh, yeah.
he's like, what is he doing? He's like reading her old like research, and she gets mad, and she's like, just leave in the morning, and then it cuts. And then it's the morning. He's like in his car, and she's like, "I'm ready. Let's go." I'm just like, "What? Like, what happened
Yep.
that you just changed your mind?" That was the only thing I didn't like.
I saw someone describe it as Hallmark with tornadoes.
Okay.
And that's
Oh
kind of
my
what those moments
gosh.
felt like
It
a little
was-
bit.
Oh my gosh.
They
You're so
did.
right. You're
Yeah,
so
they
right.
did. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
They did. I mean, like her whole story arc was deeper than most Hallmark movies get, but
Oh, yeah.
there was
Yeah.
just those certain moments where like it's kind of Hallmarky.
yeah.
Except for the end.
Yeah,
I
except
feel
for
like
the end, yeah.
That was a really great ending.
Yeah.
I was really satisfied with it.
Yeah.
You're right. It was like the cheesy moments felt like Hallmark moments, and then the other moments were like, okay, this is interesting. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else that popping into
I'm
people's
just
mind?
holding on to my trivia question.
Okay.
Don't wanna
Do
get
you
back
want to
to
do
trivia.
a trivia right now?
I guess the last thing I had was just talking about, because we kind of talked about in when we were talking about Furiosa, the difference in technology
Oh
between the
Oh,
movies,
between
and so
the
this is
years.
another good example of that, because like it's even a further like age gap between the two. So I do want to go back and watch Twister. I was looking at some clips from it, and the VFX definitely don't look as good as I was remembering.
Yeah.
There are some good moments.
There are.
but generally speaking, it doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the cool things about Twister, though, that like was kind of pioneered at the time, was they filmed a lot of it handheld. So a lot of like the tornado scenes, they were running around with handheld cameras, and that just wasn't as big of a thing with VFX shots. Like if you were doing a VFX shot,
I
you
see.
needed the camera locked down because it just made it so much more complex that the camera was moving. And so that was kind of cool. Is like they were starting to move the camera more and kind of be in the moment. So it made the tornadoes just feel a little bit more realistic. But there was only so much they could do with VFX in the 90s. And one thing that was cool, just kind of looking into the way they went about VFX in this one, is they did a lot more practically. just in front, like for real in front of the camera. So they brought in like jet engines to kind of mimic wind
For this-
and
for the
rain.
new one,
yeah,
you're saying?
for the
Okay.
new one. So they brought in jet engines to kind of mimic wind. They had fake hail that they were using in a lot of scenes, and they just were rigging a lot of different props. So they did a lot of like the props flying around practically, and then obviously enhanced it with CGI after the fact. But there's just a lot more that you can do now. To just make it feel a lot more realistic, and like the VFX were amazing. Like it definitely looked really good.
Yeah.
So it's just it's
Yeah,
fun to see. I want to go back and watch the original.
There was never a moment in Twisters where you were like taken out of the moment from the storm and the effects that were happening, like versus in Twister, like the cow flying across. I mean, iconic, but also it's like
hasn't really held up necessarily.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Or some of the other, like some of just like seeing the Twister in the original is like, yeah, okay. I'm sure at the time though it was still terrifying because no one had seen a movie like that before.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to think that like when they made the first movie, they were like, there's really a lot we don't know about tornadoes, and that's still the truth today.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot that we don't know or understand about tornadoes.
Well, that's an interesting point because I thought that this movie might take more of like climate change messaging approach.
Oh yeah.
And it's not really there unless I'm forgetting something. I don't feel like they really touch on that. They do touch on stuff you were talking about with like, profiting off of people's, disasters and things like that. But even that was kind of light. Like they didn't really have a big message that they were kind of like trying to push for this. At least I didn't feel it, at least. But I feel like they could have though. If they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those films where it's like a perfect opportunity to lean into the climate theme. Yeah, that's a good point. I never even thought about that. But I'm sure they probably didn't want to. They just wanted to keep it more true.
Well, I mean, how do we? Is that made worse by climate change? I don't know. I'm not an expert, but like, I don't even know if it's really because there's so much we don't understand about tornadoes. I don't even know if is it related to that.
I mean, I'm not gonna speak on that because I agree I don't know enough about it. But I figure there's probably some sort of tie-in to extreme weather.
I feel like what I've heard is it just. Extreme weather events happen more frequently because of climate change. It's not necessarily like there are stronger tornadoes. It's just happening more frequently.
It was interesting. Like both these movies, they filmed on location in Oklahoma, and both movies, because they were filming in the summer, there actually were tornadoes that like delayed production.
Oh,
really
seriously?
Funny. Yeah. So there were days where they'd be like going out with camera cranes, and they're like, "Oh crap, we can't film today. We gotta like pack up everything because of actual weather."
It was interesting when because you were talking about like the science that they were talking about. In this one, they were spouting a bunch of stuff off, and I was like, there's no way that's real. It didn't sound real to me, and I agree. I was like, I don't know what they're saying, but it almost felt like they were just saying random stuff. Like, I don't know, though. I can't prove
Which
that.
part, like, at what point?
When
like-
they're in the barn, probably.
Yeah, when they're in the barn, they're talking about a lot of that stuff with like the the iodine.
yeah,
I don't know. They're just like
I know what you're
saying
talking
And
about.
also, I feel like when Javi's explaining to her, like, listen, I have this like new state of the art technology equipment that like could be really innovative, and he's explaining how it works and stuff and why it's important.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could be accurate, but it didn't. I was like,
It's
little-
probably
you don't need
not
to know.
very
Yeah.
accurate.
You don't need to know. Don't ask questions.
Don't ask. Yeah. I mean, I kind of had a deep dive. Do you want to do it now or wait until?
We got one
Can
more
I do my
trivia?
trivia?
Let's do
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Okay.
you have it.
Can it be true or false?
Sure.
Sure, you can do whatever you want. You're the guest.
Okay, true or false? Glenn Powell's parents were in this movie.
Oh.
All right.
Okay. Think about it.
Back
Think
to
about
it.
it. Cool. Well, so what I was wanting to ask you guys about are in general how you feel about remakes and reboots and sequels, because nowadays everything is a remake or a sequel. Like, what else is coming out this year? Beetlejuice.
That's right. Yeah.
The Gladiators 2. I was like, do we need a second Gladiator? So do you guys have thoughts on just that in general? Because like everything is basically that now.
I don't know how I feel about remakes. Sequels, if it makes sense,
Yeah.
can be entertaining and good, but it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to do a sequel well. Especially if it's one of those things where it's like 10 years later, they're like, all right, let's reboot this and bring a part 2.
Mhm.
But if it was like written and like with the director's intent to do like, hey, we're going to do this in like a 3-part series, I think those are relatively good. But I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really been a fan of just remakes of a movie and refreshing it with modern technology, but just taking, you're taking the same story, you're changing it slightly, and you're using new tech to maybe make it more modern. They almost never pay off the same.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is, at least in the case of this movie especially, like I had that, I saw the movie as a kid, the original as a kid, and I had like that nostalgic connection to it.
Right.
We're going into this one, like I feel like there's a lot of that now where Hollywood's like, oh, remember this from the 90s or the 80s that you loved as a kid, and we're going to bring it back. And it's just like, do you need to though? Like,
yeah, I think it depends on how you felt about
Yeah.
the original. Because I feel like for me, they're so hit or miss. It's either like, for example, this one, I'm like, yeah, this is way better than the first one, and the only one that I'll ever be watching if I ever want to watch Twisters again. But there's also some remakes where I'm like, y'all should have just left it alone. Like, I hate when they try too hard, and it's like
the one I
way
can think
too
of
modern.
is the new Ghostbusters movies.
Right, yeah.
Where it's just
I
like,
don't- I
they're
don't
I
not-
haven't seen them.
They're
but
not good.
Yeah. But
I
that's
mean,
a good example.
I'm probably not the target audience, but I didn't enjoy
Especially
them.
those ones that have like huge cult followings that were
Yeah.
like
right.
staples of cinema. When they try to remake those, it's like
To your point though, I think it really does. They must be targeting a new audience because
A lot of times they are, yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. If you've got some sort of connection as a kid or a younger adult where it like cemented something in your memories, then the new ones will almost never stack up.
Because you're comparing it the entire time.
Right, but
You're
you
watching
know,
it,
if I've never seen the original, but I'm seeing a new one, chances are I'll be like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. I'm not really comparing it.
Yeah, I think actually it's an interesting point. Who are they targeting? I feel like they're targeting parents who are going to take their young kids to see it because they're like, I love this movie, and you've never, or maybe they watched it together, watched the original together, and then like I feel like that's it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And I think what rubs me, I agree, they're hit or miss. Some I do like, some I don't like, but I think the overall reason why they're being made is because to make money.
Yeah.
money,
I mean, that's what it feels like, right? And, it
that's
just annoys
that
me.
just feels gross.
Yeah.
But I'll go see most of them too. But
Will you
so,
see? Will you
I'll give 'em my
see?
money.
so that's the thing. Is
Will you see Gladiator 2?
I will probably watch Gladiator too. Like for real, I will.
Honestly, I'll probably go too, but I'm not expecting much out of it.
Yeah, same thing.
see,
So-
like that's one I've never seen. So I'm like, it'd be interesting to see like
You've never seen
fresh
it?
eyes.
I'm gonna buy that on
Yeah, now
Blu-ray.
you gotta
That
watch
came out when we
Gladiator.
were like kids.
yeah,
I had no
Yeah.
business watching something like that.
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
But
I feel the same way as you, and it's just like, it just feels like at a certain point they're just pushing it too much, and I don't know. It's not really focused on the story.
yeah, and I think the other frustrating part is all of these movies are being made because they make money, and then all the kind of more the indie or the creative stuff that is new stories kind of probably doesn't get a lot of money behind them anymore because they don't make money. So it's a perfect comparison. Like, I mean, Furiosa, although I guess that's a remake. I can't even compare that. I guess I don't know what to get A Quiet Place.
It's not a remake though; it's a sequel.
It's a sequel, right? Sure. And I guess I will say I like it better when the director is still involved, like that, and or the actors are still come back. Like that is interesting because it feels more like a passion project where they're like, okay, I just love this world, so I'm going to come back into
Want to
it,
continue it?
opposed to like totally new director, totally new cast, totally new.
Just so
everything.
long as they don't go
Concept,
back and alter the originals.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
George
Not
Lucas.
naming names.
Speaking of Twister,
we are
did you
naming.
guys ever ride the ride at Universal Studios, the Twister ride?
No,
No.
I never have.
My sister wrote it, and literally to this day, she is like terrified of tornadoes and will have anxiety attacks if there's ever like a tornado
Because
warning.
of the ride?
Because of the ride.
Wow.
Like that ride, she went maybe when she was 7. I didn't go on it because I was 5, and I was like, there's no way I'm going
You're
on
crying.
this. I went to the Terminator and Aliens at Universal.
Oh, that was a good one.
And
I remember that one.
The entire time I was like, my face was buried in my dad's lap and I'm crying. And like, I sometimes would work up the courage to like, lift my head up, and then something would happen and I'd bury my head again.
I was like, that's
and-
enough childhood trauma for one day.
Yeah. And also my mom had, we were at Disney as well on this trip, and my mom lied to me about, what's the space? Is it Space Mountain?
Sounds right. Space Mountains.
Yeah,
Like
the
the
roller
roller coaster
coaster
that's all
when
in
you
the
go in the dark.
Yeah.
And I hated roller coasters, and so did she. And so I thought she was telling me the truth when she said it wasn't a roller coaster. And then I went on it. And
So you had it when you guys came to the Twister ride. You were like, I've had it.
yeah, it was just like a series of traumatizing events for me when we went to Orlando.
Series of unfortunate events.
Oh.
What is the ride? Because it's what is it like?
Honestly, I don't know if it's changed or if I'm misremembering, but I feel like the way that I remember it, I was like really unimpressed. I was like, huh, okay. Where it was like they have like a prop cow. You're basically just looking at like kind of like a sound stage. Like you basically are just watching a set and they're like simulating a tornado.
So it's just like a play almost. Like,
I mean, yeah, like you kind of get a little wet and there's like elements and it's a
Yeah.
little like immersive,
Yeah.
but you're
Right.
just watching like a fake tornado. And then you watch like a fake cow, you know, the
Yeah.
iconic cow flying. And then you're like, okay, ride's over. I don't know. That's how I remember it. Where I was like,
That's your
okay, glad we
impression of it.
waited in line for like an hour.
Jessica grew up though watching horror films and like not being scared of things.
Yeah, that's true.
except for Chucky, as
Except
we
for
learned.
Chucky, yeah. So
yeah, that's my childhood.
they do have Twisters and Twister in 4DX theaters right now, which I actually am
Okay,
super
that's
curious about.
cool.
But the closest one is Chicago, so I'll probably not see it.
So
We
is
road
four,
trip. Take
is,
the pot on the roll.
Yeah, we could.
so is that like vibrating chairs and
Yeah,
like
so
wind and
the chairs
water?
are moving. You've got like interactive pieces, so I think there's rain involved and wind.
I feel like you
And
had walked
smell.
out soaked.
Yeah, from this
Yeah, I
one.
think they have smell too, which is weird.
So we talked about this. I did one in Chicago at the zoo.
Yeah.
And it was like dinosaurs. It was cool, but there was this one thing where they kept poking you in the back with like sharp objects, like when there was claws, and they just go bam, bam. I was like, okay, I don't need that. Like that was too much.
I
be so
love
pleasant.
4D. I love the 4D experience.
Yeah.
I mean, this
When
movie
it-
seems perfect for that.
When have you done it before? Like, what was it for? Do you
I feel like
remember?
I was at some county fair. Or it was like some, I don't know. It was when I was younger and we were traveling somewhere for some like outdoor thing. And it was like, it kind of looked like a, just like a little trailer that you walked into.
Oh.
And it was like a whole thing. I like it. Hopefully like the Twister one is like the scent part is like Glenn Powell's cologne or something like that. When he's like coming in for a hug.
Yeah,
When they're in
That
the
would be
pool.
hilarious.
that would be awesome.
Like him breathing when he's like standing behind.
Feel his breath
King.
on your neck.
Never mind. I don't think I want to see it.
They'll have seats specifically for women and seats
yeah.
But it seems like the perfect blockbuster movie for
Totally.
that experience. And it's like maybe I'll drive to Chicago, but probably not.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Anything else, or
Let's give it ratings.
let's do
Yeah.
ratings? Should we just go around same order?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
good.
so we maybe didn't prompt you for this. We do ratings out of 5, not 10. So,
Oh, I did do this already after we watched it. I gave it,
Okay.
I think, a 4.7.
ooh,
Some really high
4.7?
marks.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay.
Is that not what I gave? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
That's
So you
that's
really
what
you really liked it.
really
I thought it was
liked
great.
Yeah.
Are you gonna watch it again?
I'm not going to go watch
I
it
mean,
again.
that's like you're not gonna watch it again. How is it a 4.7 then? Whatever.
Well,
Hey, that's your rating.
You mean not like soon? Like you might watch
Like,
it.
I'm not going to go back to the theater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But you really liked it. It was-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Cool.
watch it again at home for sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great movie.
I would give it a 3.5.
Sorry.
I mean, I thought it was good, but I think with just my expectations going in, and it wasn't quite what I was expecting. But it was still a fun movie.
Yeah, I give it a 3
Wow,
out of
Jared.
5. Again, mostly because my love of the first movie
Yeah.
probably affected that score a little bit. I don't know, like similar to you, like the middle section of the movie, I was just kind of bored. And
I did feel bored.
it
I
felt
was
really
like,
predictable,
like,
and
how
that I
many more
knew exactly where the
tornadoes?
story was going to go. I mean, the VFX were really cool.
Yeah, they were really cool.
The VFX were cool to see.
The fire scene, the fire tornado scene, I was like, whoa,
That was
where
cool.
is this going? That in 4D?
oh,
That would be cool.
get a little heat on
It
your
would be.
face.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just like, yeah, I mean, it was okay. Like,
Yeah.
it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Adam?
I'm right with you at a 3.
Yeah.
For all the same reasons you just said.
These are haters.
That's okay. We got to get variety.
Dang, tough crowd. Okay.
That's what they were telling me on the last 2 movies. So,
What do you mean?
like, I was the one who had
Oh,
the low
yeah, they had
rating,
the
and
low
you guys had
rating.
high
Yep.
ratings, and
Yep.
you're like,
And I will say, like, Dan, you can attest to this. I'm a really hard like movie critic. Like, it
She
takes a
is.
lot for me to like a movie to be like, wow, I would watch that again. I feel like most movies.
That's why I'm
kinda let
surprised
down.
it's a 4.7.
It's just obviously just a different audience. So like you were the target market for this movie for sure.
Glenn Powell
it's not a bad thing.
really worked.
What, that there's like a hero that's a woman?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying all of what they did. It seemed like it was working for you. So
Yeah, I feel like it was cheesy, but it wasn't. I don't think it was that predictable. Like there was definitely like moments where I was like, "Oh, this is what's gonna happen," and then it was like, "Oh no."
I don't know. They just kept having to go save the town. The third time that happened, I'm like, yeah, but are they actually doing anything? I don't know. Nothing really happened.
Oh, I was
That
so
is
mad.
true. They save towns like 3 times
I
in a
know.
row. And we only saw that like once in the Twisters movie,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise
Right,
the Twisters kind of just
Yeah,
happen out.
it happened. It happened a few times. By the third time, I was just like, yeah, but we're not actually seeing like them do anything really.
Well, I think that was intentional. Like that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Like that
maybe.
was to be like, this is like really serious. Like the storm chasing isn't just like fun, sexy, thrilling, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like this is actually like there's a reason that we need to do research and whatever.
Yeah, but then it also, I think they do more. You see more scenes because it builds to that, the reveal of one of the characters,
Mm-hmm.
his
Yeah.
intentions. So
Yeah.
I liked that over the edging from the first movie. The first movie was so much edging of like, oh, we're gonna chase this one and then this one and then this one, but it's not the one. I was like, oh my god, just catch it.
all right, well, great. That's ratings. I did have a trivia question I can throw
Yeah.
out.
and then should we just review all the trivia?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Yep, I forget. Yeah, that's probably when we do it. Actually, before that, we mentioned the Rotten Tomato rating. I was going to throw out some other ratings. So Rotten Tomatoes, 75% for critics, 91% for audience. Really good. IMDb was 7.1 out of 10. Still pretty solid. And Letterbox, which is the one that I use for like my reviews, is 3.4 out of 5. Even that's not. I mean, yeah, even that's higher than me and you,
what we
and
were
that's
saying.
pretty much on point. So people like this better than us. So that's what it is. Trivia question. So if you rewatched the first movie, you'll know it. And Jared, I think you might just know it. So it's not the hardest trivia question here, but what movie was playing on the drive-in movie theater in the original Twister?
I do know it.
Oh.
Forgot.
Oh, maybe you'll know it and they won't
Yep.
know it.
No multiple choice.
No, it's either you know it or you don't know it.
It was a horror movie, wasn't it?
That is.
Oh,
true.
I remember now.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the. Is it the?
We can probably say it.
Yeah,
now
let's
'cause we're
just-
gonna reveal.
Jess, try and get it.
Yeah.
Is
What
it
is
the
it?
Bates Motel?
No.
But it has a
But
hotel.
it has a hotel.
Oh,
yeah.
that's true. That's probably why.
And it's a
remembering
very
that.
iconic horror scene.
Oh, that's right. The Shining.
Yeah.
That's it, yep.
Yes. Good one.
I knew it was a classic.
Yes.
Twins in the hallway.
Yes. It's that at the beginning, and then it's when he's busting through the door.
Yep.
at-
Yep.
when
Right as
the
Yeah, here's
winds
Johnny, right?
actually-
Yep.
Yeah.
And did you guys? Well, maybe spoiler, but there's a little throwback to that at the end of Twisters when they're in the movie theater and it takes off the whole
Yep.
wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. That's right. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah. Jared, what was your question?
Yep. So I had
Or
two.
you had two, yeah.
Yep.
Tornado.
So the first one is the character of Tyler Owens is based off a real person. Does anyone know his YouTube channel?
Anyone make a guess?
No.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I should have done multiple choice. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I don't know. I was just trying to come up with a weird.
Yeah. Do
name.
you watch any Storm Chasers
No, I
on
don't.
YouTube?
No, I don't. I
So-
have no idea.
The only reason I found this out is like Glenn Powell drives into a tornado with his truck and fires off some fireworks, and it's like, just like it seems so unrealistic and goofy, and I'm like, there's no way anyone would actually do that, and this guy actually did that.
Oh my
So that's his
gosh.
thing. Like he drives into tornadoes and shoots
Okay.
off fireworks, and
And-
his name's Reed Timmer. So if you're
And
interested
his
in looking him
YouTube
up,
channel?
Reed Timmer.
Oh, all right.
Shout out Reed
Registering.
Timmer.
Yeah.
Timmer.
So it
there you
was
go.
more realistic than I thought.
It was more realistic. It was it was
think-
kind of based on his channel.
I think with that character, I would have preferred if he stayed like that the whole time and didn't actually change.
No.
Because I think that's more realistic.
That is more realistic. But that's why you fall in love with the Glenn Powell character because you're like, wait, he's not a jerk.
But I,
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't fall in love with
Right.
him.
Okay.
So what was your other multiple choice?
Yep. So other one was so which Twisters actor experienced a real tornado?
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
And list
Can I
off
say
the
mine?
multiple
Yep.
choice.
So
quick.
Daisy Ager-Jones, Anthony Ramos, Sasha Lane, or Glenn Powell.
Which one? Not that this is going to help me. Which one is Anthony Ramos? Is that Javi?
Yeah.
or-
Yeah,
Javi,
Javi.
Yep.
That was my guess. Anthony Ramos. I don't know what-
My guess is all of them.
Ooh, I like
because
it.
they were on set. I remember seeing interviews where they're like, yeah, there's a bunch of tornadoes that like ripped the farmer's market thing.
Oh.
They're like, we had to redo
Adam?
that. And
I'm going with that because
With all of
I can see Jared's smirk.
No, it was Glenn Powell.
Oh.
He was in a F5 tornado.
So like, so when
Yeah.
you say in it, like it went.
So it went past them. He was 9 years old. He was driving with his aunt in Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma. But they were driving and they like were right by it. Apparently,
gosh.
yeah.
Wow, terrifying.
So yeah, he's been like the biggest tornado you can experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
There you
such
go.
a chill dude.
And Jess, your trivia
Oh, my trivia was true or false. Wait, what was
was
that?
The
Glenn
parents.
Powell's parents.
Oh,
in it.
that's right. There was two that I was going in between. Were his parents in the movie?
I guessed false.
I would guess true,
True.
but I don't know when.
It is true. Ding, ding, ding.
When
Were they?
They were in the scene where he takes Kate to the rodeo. They were sitting right behind them.
Oh,
okay.
really?
That's cute.
There's a whole like behind the scenes really cute thing about them getting ready for it, where like he meets them at the house and he's like, "Have you guys been rehearsing?" And they're like, "Yeah," like, and they're writing on the way there. It's really cute.
That's kind of funny. I want to see that actually.
Yeah.
Did you like Glenn Powell's shirt?
Oh yeah,
It's
what
like
was
the one he held
shirt?
up to her aunt. It was like not my first tornado
Oh,
or
yeah.
something.
Oh, that was hilarious.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that was.
Are they selling that for merch? Because that seems
Probably.
Like
I
miss
bet
if
they are.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got it.
Probably are. Yeah.
I like the white one he had on. Right.
We already talked about this.
Okay. The only, or I guess we got a couple more things before we wrap up. Dan, did you come up with a movie shout out?
I've got a movie
What's the
shout
movie
out.
shout out?
Cool.
Yeah, it's just quickly shout out if you've got a movie you recently saw and
Oh,
you wanted
fun.
to shout it out. Mine, I just watched the movie yesterday. It was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, a friend just like randomly asked if I wanted to see it, and I was like, all right, sure. I hadn't watched the second Deadpool. It was just hilarious and fun. It's everything you'd expect from Deadpool, and it was really just crazy and unexpected. And I thought it was so like Hugh Jackman did really good in it. So it's Deadpool, so you have to be okay with raunchy and crude, but it was hilarious.
Nice.
I laughed out loud for probably like half of the film, I think.
That's good. Yeah, I would like to see it. I haven't seen it yet, and you said you hadn't seen it.
I think I'm going to see it this weekend.
Okay, there you go. Nice.
My movie shout out is From Dusk Till Dawn. Watched that recently. Have any of you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Not the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a Robert Rodriguez movie from the 90s, and Quentin Tarantino's in it. And he is like one of the main characters in the movie, and George Clooney's in it as well. But it's really campy and very violent, and there's a huge twist in the movie that I don't want to reveal. And the less you know about the movie going into it, the better. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, interesting. I might have to give it a watch. I feel like
Yeah.
it sounds familiar.
If you
Yeah.
like old school horror movies,
Yeah, you'd probably enjoy
should
it.
be up
Just
your alley.
yeah, the twist is it's a twist. So
Great.
yeah,
Just don't watch a trailer before you see
yeah,
it.
don't
Yeah,
watch
there you
anything
go.
about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did Quentin Tarantino write it? I can't remember.
I think
Did
they
he
maybe
just-
wrote it together.
Okay.
Or
Yeah, I
like,
can't
they
remember.
tag team directing a little bit too. I think. But
Nice. My shout out, I wanted to do another like disaster movie that I really love to relate it. This was one of my favorites as a kid. Is The Perfect Storm.
oh yeah,
Have you guys seen it?
a long time ago.
You guys haven't seen it?
I don't remember.
It's
what
so it's a group of guys on a fishing boat, and it's Mark Wahlberg. Oh, there's a lot of people. Who's anyway, I can't think of names right now, but there's a lot of people you would recognize. But they're on a fishing boat in Alaska. I think it's Alaska, and they're just
Yeah.
they're out there fishing, and it's like
It's a
the
true
biggest
story.
storm. Is that a true
Yeah.
story?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, okay. And the ending is kind of a twist too, but it's just like the biggest storm, and they're just stuck on the water, and they're trying to figure out how not to sink, basically. But it's really good, and that one does have like half the movie is a build up until the storm hits, so you might not like it for that. But it's got a lot of good character building, and it's just entertaining. It's good.
Look, I like a build up if the payoff on the other side of it is worth it.
I would say the payoff's worth it.
Which is a perfect leeway into my movie shout out.
There you go.
I recently went to watch Long Legs.
Oh, you
My
did?
sister had told me that she loved it, that it was so good. And she's like, oh my gosh, it was so worth it. It was terrifying, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I went, and there was so much anticipation and build up that I was like, all right, this better be worth it. My sister said it was good. And then the payoff on the other side was just, I was like, that's it. I feel like I was confused most of the movie.
What's
I didn't
the
So
really
premise
that's a
of the
movie
movie?
shout down.
Shut down.
I guess.
What's the premise of the movie? Because I've seen the trailers, but I don't remember. what
It's
it's
technically like crime, where it's like there's a serial killer that they're trying to catch, and they don't know how he's getting away with it, and they're trying to catch him and figure out how he's killing these people. But there's like an element of like supernatural a little bit that confuses everything, and then I feel like it was kind of like a cop out when they explained what actually happened. I was like, really? It felt like one of those movies where it's like, and it was all a dream.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's
That's
what my
not
friend
fun.
Amanda said when we watched it together. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. The ending
Okay.
was just like, okay, great.
So don't recommend.
I don't recommend
All
it.
right.
Okay, there you go.
So don't watch it.
Last thing, our producer Tiffany always gives us a little challenge with a quote that we have to figure out. And did I write down the quote?
Shout out to Tiffany. She
Tiffany, we
her
might need your
internship.
help. I can't remember if I wrote this down. or not.
Tiffany's internship ends today, and she's going back to school.
Sad.
So
Tiffany, yell it out. I don't think I wrote it down. Yeah.
while she's finding it, speaking of like just great disaster films,
Oh,
Day After Tomorrow.
Oh,
That's what I was
100%.
thinking.
watched
Really
that
good
on
one.
repeat as a kid.
That's what I was thinking.
I was
of.
gonna do that one. I'm like, everybody's seen that. So,
Yeah.
but I totally agree with you. That's a good call, Dan.
I like, it's not really disaster, but it's a little disastery, I guess. The one with Shailene Woodley, it's like where she's at sea.
I don't know what that one
Or she has like to survive. Oh, I'll look it up. It's so good.
Interesting.
Did
She's
you
like
get-
on a boat by herself.
Yeah, it's a sailboat where like there's a
Kinda rings a
storm, and then
bell, yeah.
it's based on a true story, and she
Hmm.
has to like survive at sea for like, I don't know, it's like weeks.
Did you guys ever see the volcano movie? That
From the
There's a
90s.
few-
from
Yeah.
the 90s, and like
Oh, just volcano.
Yeah, it's called
also is
Volcano. Yeah.
I
Or
think so.
Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak. Yeah.
Oh.
I think they
know.
both came out around the same
Does it,
time.
does it have Pierce Brosnan in it? One of them.
I just
one
remember
of 'em.
there was a movie about a volcano, and like the lava is like slowly creeping into
Yeah.
the city, and eventually it hits the sea, and that's how I think it stops.
Yeah.
But I was like terrified of that because I was just a little kid. I think I was like 6, and I was
Yeah.
afraid that it,
That's why you got to start them young. You're
Yeah.
not scared by every little thing.
Yeah, exactly. My other favorite, which I guess maybe not a disaster movie, was Vertical Limit. Have you guys seen that?
no.
So it's like a they're climbing Mount Everest type of thing, and there's storms coming and they hit and they're stuck on the mountain. But it's really good. I looked that one up for sure.
All right, Tiffany, you gotta.
Yes.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. Oh,
You know
What is what is
Yeah.
this part? You guys just guess who says it?
It's a quote. You got to guess the movie. What movie it's from?
Oh, got
So it
it.
sounds like Dan knows it. Don't say yeah because I don't think
I
about it.
think at least.
All
Say it
right.
I
again.
have
Say it
one.
again.
I have a guess.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I like the quote. I don't know what it's from though. I can't think of it.
You have
I
it?
feel like I'll try and do a voice impersonation, and either I'll do it really well and I know the movie, or Tiffany's gonna laugh at me because I'm completely off.
So do you know it too?
I find
I
your
think I
lack
do.
of faith disturbing. Is
Oh,
Palpatine?
that's
Sounds
not
like
what I was thinking.
Palpatine from Star
Star
Wars?
Wars.
Oh. Okay.
But it's from Star Wars.
It is Star Wars.
Which
Oh,
Star
oh,
Wars?
is it? Oh, is it Darth Vader? I find your lack of faith disturbing.
But which one is it?
Oh.
I have a friend who's huge into Star Wars, and if he's listening, he will definitely get that. From the original Star Wars, from A New Hope. Okay.
I thought it was the Joker
Oh.
from Dark Knight Rises when he's hanging upside down.
Or from Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
Oh, I don't know, y'all.
Ledger.
Yeah.
All right.
Which did
Okay.
you guys see that there's a new Joker coming out or
Yeah,
a
sequel.
sequel
Yeah.
Sequel, yep.
With
Oh
Joaquin
my-
Phoenix, yeah.
And Lady
Lady
Gaga.
Gaga's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
as Harley Quinn? I saw the preview when I went to see Longlegs. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see that.
But maybe
We'll,
I'm setting
we'll have to
myself up for
review
a-
that
Yeah,
one
yeah,
on the
and
podcast.
You'll be,
Yeah, there
you'll
we
be
go.
back for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks
Thank-
for joining.
Thanks,
by the way.
Jess.
Thanks for having
We're
me.
going to have you on another one.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yay.
All right. And if you guys aren't already subscribed, subscribe to us on, you can find us on podcasts or on all the podcast platforms, on YouTube and on Instagram. It's Have You
I
Seen
think it's
It
Have You
Podcast?
Seen It podcast.
At Have You Seen It Podcast. So please share, subscribe, like.
Do all the things.
Send us a nice message.
There we go.
And leave a 5-star review.
That's it.
All right, thanks.
All right. You.
Bye.